The track Times Like These was the second single released from the album One by One, and it actually features an odd time signature that appears at a couple of points throughout the track. You could look at this time feel as 7/4 or 4/4 and 3/4. So let's take a look at the how you would count that either way. So if our time is going by at this tempo, our bar of 7/4 is going to sound like this if we play eighth notes on the hi-hat. So let's put a simple bass drum and snare drum pattern to that so that we can outline that basic 7/4 feel. And that will feel like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. At the minute with that pattern, we're playing the bass drum on the last quarter note. So if you listen to the track, you'll hear that it's actually a 16th note figure played between the snare, bass drum, and hi-hat. So let's replace beat 7 with the figure that you'll hear on the track. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So all we need to do now to get the completed 7/4 feel is fill in the bass drum on all of the eighth notes, apart from where we're playing the snare, up into beat 7. So that will sound like this, after 4. The other way you could look at that groove, if it makes it easier, is to subdivide it into a bar of 4 and a bar of 3. So we would count that then like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. There's a variation in that 7/4 feel that appears a couple of points in the track. And it's a little syncopated fill around the kit. It starts on beat 5 with the downbeat played on the bass drum. And then we get this idea that moves around the next 3 beats. So I'll count 4 into it and give the next 3 beats to give us our bar of 7/4. So let's hear that in context with the groove before it. And now let's hear that at tempo. We get 8 bars of this 7/4 feel, and then 2 bars of 4/4 to complete this section. So I guess to be in keeping with that 7/4 time signature, it's almost like feeling the last 2 bars of 4/4 as 1 bar of 8/4, if you see what I mean, to complete the cycle. Let me play the 2 bars of 7/4 before it, and then the final 2 bars of 4/4, which lead us into the next part of the track. This next feel is a 2-bar pattern, and we've got this 16th note triplet idea at the end of the 2-bar pattern, which is played snare, rack, floor, bass drum, but with a triplet feel. It's important that the bass drum is the last note in that fill, not before the floor tom. So we don't want this. Because you lose the sort of descending feel in there if you put that first. So bass drum last. And here it is in context with the groove. Other variations that you'll hear in that section, occasionally you'll hear a 16th note single stroke fill on the snare drum starting on the end of beat 3. So let me show you that, alternating it with the triple idea that we just looked at. The verse is an 8-bar section, and with the last 2 bars being made up of the 2-bar idea that we just looked at. The 6 bars before that, we've just got 2 and 4 on the snare, and all of the 8th notes, apart from 2 and 4, being played on the bass drum. So there are a few crashes thrown in there just to punctuate certain points. So let me play you an 8-bar verse section so you can hear how that works. The second time through the 8-bar verse sequence, there's another 2 bars tagged onto it to make it a 10-bar cycle. And it's just the 2-bar pattern again, this time with the 16th note snare drum fill, which takes us out into the chorus. The chorus feel being, again, a continuity of the verse feel with the 8th notes being played on the bass drum, apart from on 2 and 4. And this time we're riding on the crash cymbal. There's an important thing to note about the chorus though. It's a 3-bar pattern that cycles round. We're used to feeling things in 4-bar cycles most of the time. Here you have to get your head around the fact that it's moving in 3 bars. So we get 3 of these 3-bar cycles and then 2 bars tagged onto the end of that to make the first chorus. So let's hear it from the second half of the verse. So I'll play the 8-bar verse pattern with the 2 bars tagged on the end into the chorus feel. When we go around this verse-chorus sequence again, the transition from the verse to the chorus this time has this syncopated snare drum fill there. So let me play it slowly for you at first. I'll play a bar of time before it. It sounds like this. With a fill like this, the easiest way to play it, if it's syncopated and has notes missing, is to basically think of it as hand-to-hand 16th notes. So everything moving right, left, right, left, right, left, and just missing out the appropriate notes instead of changing your sticking in order to play the figure. In other words, where we've got those missing notes, we'll just remove the appropriate hand, but continue that right, left flow. So here's the figure again, just in isolation. And here it is up to speed with, I'll play the last 4 bars of the second verse, taking us into the second chorus. After the second chorus, we go back to the intro feel again. So it's back into 7/4. And we go through the same sequence as we had on the intro. We play 3 bars of time with the little snare drum variation on beat 7. In the 4th bar, we've got the syncopated fill. Then we head over to the ride cymbal, and there's a 3-bar sequence that goes round. The first 2 times having the snare drum variation, the 3rd time crashing on the upbeat of bar 7. So as I said, we do that 3-bar cycle twice. There's another bar of 7/4 then, and then 2 bars of 4/4 to complete that cycle. So let's hear that slowly. I'll count the bars as they're going by as well, with a 4 count into it. This next 8-bar section contains some nice 16th note drum fills, so let's take a look at them individually. The first we've seen earlier in the tune is actually a 16th note triplet idea, where we're playing the snare, rack, floor, kick. So we'll hear that in conjunction with the others in just a second. So here's the second idea, which is moves between the snare, floor, and the bass drum plays the last 16th note of beat 2. So here's the first 2 beats of this next drum fill. So we get this. And then we've just got 16th notes out from the end of beat 3. So the whole of the bar sounds like this. And with some time, the next example just moves the 16th notes off the snare down the kit. So the roll actually starts on the end of beat 1, and we play up to the first and second 16th notes of beat 3 on the snare, and then move around the kit. So in isolation, it sounds like this. And with some time, and the 4th variation has an open hi-hat in it and a little syncopated figure in the last couple of beats. And again, in isolation, sounds like this. and with some time. So let's hear those 8 bars played together and slowly at first. And now up to speed. The tune finishes with 8 of our 3-bar chorus cycles. And we've just got occasional fills thrown in there. So let me give you a sample of how that would work. Again, feeling the 3-bar cycles going by as well. So there you have all the parts for times like these.